Hey y'all, it's Chris and welcome back to Creative Loops. This is my channel where I explore all things yarn, crochet, and sometimes knit. And in today's video, this is going to be part one of a series of tutorials for how to make this robe. I'll insert a video of the full robe for you all to see. I am finally putting out this tutorial. The tutorial will be released in parts every other week over the next few months through December. So if you're watching this as I'm releasing it, you'll get a new part every other week. So not next week, but the week after next is when the next part will come out through December. If you're watching this and 2025 is already come and gone, then check out my channel for the full playlist of the tutorial. This video is going to go over the first part of how to make this robe. This is based off of a hexagon cardigan kind of format. So we start with a hexagon here in the armpit and then work our way out. And this video is going to show you how to start off with this first sleeve portion of the robe. So stick around, and if you like these types of videos, please consider subscribing, like this video, comment, share, do all of the things, and I appreciate you being here. Before we begin, you will need approximately between 3,500 yards and 5,000 yards of yarn for this robe, depending on the size of the robe that you're making. I made this robe to be approximately a men's large, extra large, and I used about 4,500 yards of yarn for this robe specifically. I did purchase 16 skeins of Premier Basix worsted to do this tutorial. This is a yarn eater, so you'll need a lot of yarn for this robe. It does include double crochets, treble crochets, front post treble crochets, so there's a lot of stitches in here that use up a lot of yarn, so be prepared for that. Please let me know. This is the very first tutorial that I've ever made, so please let me know how I can do better. If there is any constructive criticism that you would like to provide, if there's any tips that you would like to give me for future tutorials, I am open, and let me know in the comments below. Thank you, and here are the materials you will need for this project. I'm using, the yarn is Premier Basix. I have two crochet hooks, a 6 and a 6.5 millimeter crochet hook. The yarn I'm using recommends a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook, but I'm going to use a 6 and a 6.5 millimeter crochet hook so my stitches won't be too tight. You'll need scissors, a darning needle, stitch markers, and you will need measuring tape. The measuring tape will be very important. You will need 5 measurements for this project. The first one is the arm length. This is the area from the top of your shoulder down along the outside of your arm to your wrist, or to where you want the sleeve to end. The second measurement is the arm width. To measure this area, wrap the measuring tape loosely around the fullest part of your upper arm. This could be your bicep area. Add a little extra so the sleeve isn't too tight. I add 2 inches. Once you have that number, you will want to split that number in half. For example, my arm width was 22 inches, so I'm splitting that to 11 inches for my arm width for this robe. The next measurement you will need is the overall width. Measure around the fullest part of your torso. This could be your chest, it could be your belly, whatever the fullest part of your torso is. Place the measuring tape around that part of your body. Then divide that number in half. This gives the front width of the robe. Add another 2 inches for some extra room for comfort. Now we're going to measure the neck. Place the measuring tape along the base of your neck where a collar would sit. You don't need this to be tight. Keep the tape comfortable so the neckline will feel relaxed. The next and last measurement we will need is the length. This will measure from the top of your shoulder, close to your neck, straight down to the front of your body where you would like the robe to fall. I like my robe to go all the way down to my ankles, so this robe length will be 60 inches for me. With these 5 measurements, we are ready to get started. The first measurement we're going to pay attention to is the arm width. For me, that's going to be 11 inches. To begin, I'm going to make a magic ring. I make my magic ring by wrapping the yarn around my fingers, put the hook in, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. I'm going to do it a little bit slower now. So I take the yarn, I wrap it around my pinky, go back, wrap around. So here I make this circle, put my yarn through my hook through the back, grab the yarn, pull through, yarn over, pull through. Now I'm going to chain 1. This is my first double crochet. I'm going to work 6 double crochet clusters into this magic circle. What that means is a cluster is 3 double crochets. So we will have 6 3 double crochet clusters into this magic circle. I just completed my first cluster. Now I'm going to do 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, and 3 double crochets. So this is my second cluster. I'm going to chain 2 between each cluster. Let's do 1 more. This is 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, 3, and now I'm going to chain 2. If you have to pull that tail to tighten the loop, the magic circle, you can pull that. You can also loosen it so that you can fit more clusters in. This is the 4th cluster, so that's the first double crochet, second double crochet, and now 3rd double crochet. I will need to do 2 more clusters. 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, 3 double crochets, now we will pull this so that it's not too loose, chain 2, 4, 5, and do 1 more cluster. 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, and 1 more, 3. Get that last one in there. Now we can pull this tail. We'll pull it tighter once we put in a few more rows. But now we'll just need to chain 2. We're going to chain 2, and then we're going to join to the second chain at the beginning. This is the base of our hexagon. So this is how you would start any hexagon, granny, cardigan, or anything like that. We're using the hexagon to be the base of our robe. Now we're going to continue with this color for the second round. So we're going to chain 2, and we're going to put in 3 double crochets into this opening here. Now we're going to put in a cluster of double crochets between every cluster. So we're going to go back to this opening here, put in 3 double crochets. Now we're putting 2 clusters into each opening actually. So we're going to chain 2, and now we're going to do 1 more cluster in between these 2 from the round below. 2 double crochets, and now 3 double crochets. Now we're not going to put any chains in between the clusters that aren't on corners. So we're only chaining 2 on a corner. We'll have 6 corners here. So now I'm finishing up this cluster with the 3 double crochets. I'm chaining 2 because this is going to be my corner. I'm going to add another cluster into this same opening, and this is now the one side of the hexagon. So I'm not going to chain between this cluster and that next cluster into the next opening. 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, 3. Since this is a corner again, I am chaining 2 and doing another cluster into that same opening. 2 and 3. Now I'm going into the next opening, so I'm not going to chain between this cluster. 1, 2, and 3. Now this is a corner, so chain 2. 1, 2, and 3. We're going to the next opening, so we're not going to chain between these 2 clusters. As you can see, we're almost to the end of this round. 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, and 3 double crochets. This is a corner, so we're going to chain 2. We're going to put another cluster in there. 1, 2, and 3. And now we need to add 1 more cluster into this opening here. Sorry. So we're going to put 3 double crochets into the same opening that we started, because that is going to be the end of this round and close off this corner. And 3. Now we are going to chain 2 and close this round. We're going to change colors after this. Do a slip stitch. We're going to cut this tail. And now we're going to pull that through. Now you'll see this opening here where the magic circle. You can just pull that as tight as you can now to close that circle. And that should now be closed. So I like to weave in my ends as I go so that it's not a lot to do at the end. You'll see we're going to be changing colors quite a bit. So weaving in our ends as we go will save us a lot of trouble in the end. I'm going to grab my darning needle, slip the yarn through there. And I like to go behind this loop here, go back through that slip stitch where I joined, and this will create kind of a fake loop across the top where you won't necessarily recognize that it was a join. Now I like to go down through these stitches. I just pick up some loops as I go, and then I will go back and forth through the bottom of these stitches here. So I'll go under the bottom here, through, and I just try to go back at least 3 times. So that's 1. I will go back around, skip one of those strands. This is the second pass through here, and then I'll do it one more time. I'll skip a strand so that it gets caught up in here. Oops, sorry, I can't see. Go back across one more time. There we go. And now I will pull this through and I will cut that tail. And there we go. This is the first 2 rounds of your robe. We're going to start using the green colors now. You'll see there's 6 points. You want to make sure that you have your hexagon here. We're going to do our first color, our first green. If you're making the rainbow robe, this will be the first starting color, which I started with red in my rainbow robe, but I'm using greens for this one. So I made a slip knot here, and I'm putting this loop onto my hook. I'm going to pick up my piece and find an opening. I'm going to go on through the opening, yarn over, pull up a loop. I'm making a standing single crochet right now. So I'm going to yarn over, pull through a loop. That's a standing single crochet. I'm going to go through this loop here again, yarn over and pull up another loop. So that is a standing double crochet. I'm going to put my stitch marker into the top of this standing double crochet here. What you could do is you could start with 2 chains, and that will be your starting double crochet. So this is going to be my second double crochet now, and then my 3rd double crochet to form that first cluster. Since I started in the middle of a row, and you can see that next opening is a corner, I'm going to put 2 double crochet clusters into this corner. So 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, 3 double crochets, if I can get in here, to form my first double crochet cluster. I'm going to chain 2 because this is my corner here. And now I'm going to add 1 more cluster to this opening. 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, and 3 double crochets. So now I have 2 clusters here. I'm going to add 1 cluster to this middle opening here. This is this side of one of the hexagons. So 2 and 3. And now we're going to our next corner, so we're going to put 2 clusters into this corner again. So making sure I went into that right opening, 1 double crochet. We're going to do 2 clusters into this corner. Two double crochets and 3 double crochets. Now we're going to chain 2, put 1 more cluster here, 1, 2, and 3. And so we're going to do this all the way around the hexagon here. We're going to have 2 clusters separated by 2 chains in every corner with 1 cluster in the middle. And I will continue to do this, and then I will meet you at the end of the round where we will close that loop. And now we're coming up on our final corner. So this is a 3rd double crochet in this first cluster in the corner. I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to add another cluster to this corner. 1 and 2. Nope. 2. And now we're going to do one last one, 3rd double crochet to end this cluster. And since I started in the middle of the row, I can go ahead and slip stitch into that first stitch. But this is what we are looking like right now. So I'm going to take the stitch marker off. I'm going to go in here and just do a slip stitch to close this round. And then I'm going to cut off this color. And then we're going to pull that strand through, and we're going to weave in this end. If I can get that. So again, we're going to pull this tight. Now we're going to go under this stitch here in the middle, or however you like to weave in your ends. I know some people have a special way that they weave in ends. Weaving in ends can almost be a meditative kind of process for some people, so however you like to weave in your ends, go for it. This is what I will usually do sometimes. I'll just go under a few stitches, work my way to a opening here, make sure that I'm in the back of the piece, and then I'll pick up some of these stitches to go down and weave in back here in this corner. Go under, skip a strand under here, maybe. I'm going to pick up a strand so that it sticks and go through here. Right through there. And now I'm going to cut off this tail. And I'm going to weave in that starting tail as well. Now we're going to switch back to our base color, which my base color is this cream color here. We're going to create a slip knot. Pull that tight. Put the loop on our hook, and when we're joining with our base color, we will always join on the wrong side. So this is going to be our wrong side color, with the greens for me being my right side color. So I am going to go through. I like to start in the middle of a row and not on a corner. So I'm going to go on through, pick up a loop, and again I'm going to yarn over and pull through both loops on my hook. I'm going to go back through this first loop here, this first strand that is on the left. I'm going to yarn over, pull through another loop, and now I have two loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over, pull through both of those loops. That is my standing double crochet. I'm going to put my stitch marker into that first loop there, because that serves as my first stitch. Now I'm going to make 2 more double crochets to complete this cluster. So this is the second, considered my second double crochet of this cluster, and this would be my third double crochet of this cluster. We're not chaining because we're not on the end and we're not at a corner, so we're just going to put 1 cluster in here, 2 double crochets, 3 double crochets. And now you'll see we are at a corner, so we're going to put 2 clusters here separated by 2 double crochets. I'm sorry, 2 clusters separated by 2 chains. 2 and 3. We're going to chain 2, and we're going to put another cluster in here. So as you can see, nothing has changed from the previous rows, so we're still just doing regular clusters. So I'm going to continue to do this all the way around, and I'm going to meet you at the end of the row. Now we are at the end of this row, and we're going to slip stitch to join. And we're going to pull this tight, we're going to cut off, leave a tail to weave in. We're going to just pull it on through, and we're going to weave in this tail. We're going to set aside the main color because we're going to be switching now to one of the greens. And again, if you are doing this in the rainbow color, you'll want to make sure that you have your colors in the Roy G. Biv, so the red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple sequence, and then join them in that order. I am creating a gradient with these greens, so I'm going to use a new green color after I weave in this end here. I'm just going to get to this corner so that I have more stitches to weave into. And now I'm going to go down through some of these loops and go through these bases here. And I'm going to go across 3 times is the magic number. One more. And then I am going to cut this tail off. And now I am going to weave in this starting 1, 2, but we will skip this part. I will meet you at the end. Okay, now we're going to pick our next color. So I'm moving forward with my greens. I'm going to create a slip knot here, and then once I have my slip knot, I'm going to put this on my hook. And we're going to, again, I like to join in the middle of a row, so not on a corner. I'm going to pick up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. I'm going to go through this left bar here, yarn over, pick up 1 loop, pull it through that 1 bar, have 2 loops on my hook, yarn over, I'm going to pull through both of those loops. Again, that is a standing double crochet. I'm going to put my stitch marker into this loop here. And this is when we start something new. So we're going to do a front post treble crochet. So for a treble, we're going to wrap our yarn around our hook 2 times. And we're going to go down to the row below into that middle stitch, pick up a loop, we're going to pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That is our front post treble crochet. So, and then we're going to close this cluster with a double crochet. So our clusters now are going to consist of a double crochet, a front post treble crochet, and then another double crochet. So I'm going to go through, do this double crochet. Now the front post treble, wrap twice around the hook, go down through behind that middle double crochet. We're going to pick up a loop, we're going to yarn over, we're going to pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and that is our front post treble. We're going to close this with a double crochet. Now in our corners, we are just going to do 2 double crochet clusters because we don't have a cluster below it to drop down to. So this is just going to be 3 double crochets here for this first cluster, 1 double crochet. As you see, there's no cluster to drop down to, so 2 double crochets. We're going to do 3 double crochets. Now we're chaining 2, and we're going to put in another cluster. 1, 2, and 3. And now that we're done with this corner, we're going to do 1 double crochet. And you see we have a cluster below, so we're going to do 1 double crochet, and then we're going to do the front post treble crochet. So wrap 2 times around the hook, go down to that middle double crochet into the cluster below. So 2 times around the hook, go to this middle double crochet, go behind that, and yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now we're going to do a double crochet to close out this cluster. We're going to go double crochet, treble to this front post down here, pick up, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now we're going to close this with a double crochet, now we're going to go to the next one. And you'll notice as you are doing these that the front post treble crochets do tend to make your work curl a little bit. That is perfectly okay. As you start to make the piece bigger and bigger, the weight of the project will counteract all of the curling. So don't worry about it. You might notice it. It will not be noticeable in the finished piece. Now we're working our way around. We're at our corner. So again, our corner doesn't have anything to drop down to, so the corner pieces will just have clusters of 3 double crochets. So 2 double crochet clusters. There's our first double crochet, second double crochet, and now our third double crochet. We're going to chain 2, and we're going to put another cluster into this corner. Now we're going to continue with our clusters with treble front posts. Wrap twice, go down, behind, pick up a loop, yarn over, pick up, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and another double crochet. Now we're going to continue these front post treble crochet clusters all the way around to the end, and I'll show you how to close off this row. Now we're at the end of this row, so we're going to finish this cluster, put this last double crochet in here, and we're going to slip stitch to join to this first double crochet. So we're going to go into this first double crochet, and we're just going to slip stitch here. We're going to cut off this tail. Sorry, we're going to cut a tail and pull it through. Now we are done with this row. As you can see, it's starting to curl a little bit like I mentioned, but don't worry about that. It is perfectly fine. As you continue to add to it, it will start to stretch it out, and you won't notice in the finished piece at all. Now I am going to take these 2 ends and I'm going to weave these in, and we'll be back. Now we are back, and we're going to add on our base color now. So now we're working on the wrong side. I am going to continue to do a row of this base color along the wrong side, and you see when we put the hexagon together, it's forming the torso and the arm. So this is the first piece of our hexagon. We need 2 pieces like these. So I'm going to add on my base color, and I'm going to make this slip knot, put this hook loop on my hook, and now I'm going to go into this opening here, pull up a loop. We're going to create a standing double crochet again. So we're going to pull through these 2 loops. I have 1 loop on my hook. I'm going to go through this left bar here, pull up another loop. I have 2 loops on my hook, pull through both of those. It's my standing double crochet. Put in my stitch marker. And now we're going to create our cluster here. Again, we're not doing anything different with this base color. On the wrong side of our work, the wrong side of our work will just have our double crochet clusters. So through every opening here, we're going to add a cluster until we get to the end of this row and we get to a corner. Once we get to a corner, we're going to do our 2 double crochet clusters separated by 2 chains. So we're almost there. 2 double crochets and 3. Now we are at our corner. So we're going to start with 1 cluster here. 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to chain 2 because we're at the corner. As you can see, the side gets longer every time, so we're going to chain 2 and put 1 more cluster into this corner. One and 2. There we go. And now 3. And so we're just going to continue these clusters all the way around, and we will meet you at the end of this round. Now we are at the end of this round, so I'm going to close off this cluster, 2 and 3. And then we're going to slip stitch to join into this first stitch here. So take out your stitch marker, go under this loop, and under this loop here, there we go, and slip stitch. Now we're going to cut off pull that through, and now as you can see, you don't notice the curling as much anymore now that the wrong side row is on, but every time we add on a new color, it will look a little tight again. So again, don't worry about that. It will be perfectly okay. I'm going to weave these ends in and I'll be back. Now we're back with our next color for the right side. I have my next green here. I'm going to make my slip knot, add my loop to my hook. We're going to go into any place we want to really. I'm going to go in here, pull up a loop. I'm going to make my standing double crochet. Pull through 2, go through this bar here, pull up a loop, go through 2. Now I'm going to do my treble, front post treble, down into this cluster here. And then I'm going to close that cluster out. As you noticed, that was a turning cluster, so that was not already a front post treble crochet. So we're at a corner now, so we're going to do our plain double crochet cluster. So 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, and 3 double crochets. We're going to chain 2, and now we're going to put another cluster in here. 1, 2, and 3. Now we are going to do another treble crochet into the cluster below. So front post treble, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2, and pull through 2. We're going to close out this cluster with a double crochet into that same space. Now we're getting to the front post treble crochets. So I'm going to do a double crochet. I'm going to do my, oops, I did not do, sorry, wrap twice. Now we're going to go through this treble here. And as you can see, now that we've gotten to the front post treble crochets, we're not wrapping through the front post of the double crochet below. We're going under the front post of the front post treble crochet that is below. And so this is what is going to create that more gradient effect that I'm looking for with my green colors, because each green is going to transition into the next. Here is my double crochet, and then a front post treble crochet around this front post treble below. And then this is now going to be our repeat as we continue adding on rows to this hexagon. So every next row will be done the same way. We're now at our corner, so we didn't have a front post treble below, but we had a double crochet to go around. And now we're just doing 2 clusters into this corner separated by 2 chains. Here is that first cluster. We're going to do 2 chains, 1, 2, and now we're going to add another cluster here. And 3. And now we're going to do another front post treble crochet into this middle double crochet below. We're going to close out this cluster with a double crochet. And now we're going to continue to work our way around. So as you can see, now you start to see the effect here. We're going to continue this color all the way around doing front post treble crochets until we get to the end of this row. Once we get to the end of the row, we will slip stitch to join, and I will meet you there. Now we are at the end of the row. We are going to slip stitch to this first stitch here to close this out, and we're going to cut off this color and leave a tail to weave in. Now we will continue to we'll alternate the different colors with each row until we get to the length that we want with the arm. So again, we want to look at that first measurement, which is the arm width, and mine is 11 inches. So we're going to wait until this side becomes 11 inches long. We'll want to measure it to be 11 inches. Once we get there, we will stop adding on rows. So we'll want to measure as we go, keep adding on a row, but once we get to that 11 inches for me, we'll stop and come back and we will learn how to join it together. We are back and we're finishing up our final row with our base color. You'll want to make sure that your final row is on the wrong side of your work, so you're using that base color. You'll cut this off, we'll pull this through, and we will look at the final piece here. So my arm width is now the 11 inches that I need, and you'll see I've been using all of the colors to create this transitional effect, this more gradient effect with the colors that I have here, the greens. If you're using a different color, or if you're using the rainbow color, you'll want to make sure that you're using those in that order. You'll create 2 of these. So here's my second panel, here's my first. We created both of those to be the 11 inches, and now we're ready to seam these together. So make sure you have 2 of these. It helps if you do them both at the same time. I'm still using my 6mm J hook, and I'm going to set this one aside. Now we're currently looking at the right side. We'll want to make sure that the wrong side is facing us. So we're going to flip this inside out so that the wrong side is facing us, not the side where you see the front post treble crochets. You don't want to be looking at the front post treble crochets when you are seaming this together. So we flip this inside out. I still have the tail for my magic loop so that I know it's the wrong side if the front post treble crochets aren't enough to show me that. I'm going to start seaming in this corner. So I'm going to grab my yarn here, and I'm going to make a slip knot with my yarn. Now we have the slip knot on our hook. We're going to go into this corner here where the 2 chains are, and we're going to do our standing single crochet. So I went in there, picked up a loop. Now when you're looking at this, you can see the back loop here, and in the front we see the front loop. We're going to go through the front loop of these front stitches, and we're going to go through the back loop of these back stitches, and we're going to do slip stitches through the front and through the back. And this is going to create what I call an invisible seam. I don't know if that's the technical name for it, but I call it an invisible seam, and I really love the way that seam looks in my work. So we're going to go through here, we're going to pick up this front loop, and look at those back stitches, and we're going to pick up that back loop. And now we're going to yarn over and pull through both. So we just did a slip stitch here. Pick up that front loop, pick up the back loop, yarn over, pull through all loops. And we're going to keep doing that. Front, back, yarn over, pull through. Front, back, yarn over, pull through. You're going to want to make sure that you're keeping these slip stitches a little loose. You don't want it to be too tight because slip stitches already don't have a lot of give to them. So you want to make sure that it's not too tight where it's causing your work to bunch up. So we're going to go through the front, through the back, slip through both of those loops. We're going to keep doing this all the way down. Pick up this front loop here, this back loop, yarn over, pull through. Front, back, yarn over, pull through. Front loop, back loop, yarn over, pull through. So we're going to continue to do this all the way to the end of this row. coming up here on our final stitches at the end of this row. So we're going to go through, do these last few slip stitches on the seam here. When we get to the end, to the chain 2 spaces, we're going to do a full single crochet. So we're not going to slip stitch, we're going to pull up a loop, we're going to pull through 2 loops. And I like to end my seams with 2 chains, and I'm going to cut off this tail here. And now I'm going to pull this tight. So I create a knot with 2 chains. I pull it tight and I pull that knot down. And I do that before I even weave in the end because I like to know that it's going to be secure. So that is the way the inside of the seam looks. We're going to flip this inside out, or the right side out. And this is what it looks like now on the right side of the clothing. So let's get this in front of the camera. Now you see it creates this seam that you can tell that it's a seam there, but there's no bunching up, there's no bumps, and if you pull it tight it does show the stitches there, but I really like the way that looks when you pull it open and you can just see those stitches, and how when it's not being pulled tight you don't really notice the seam at all. So we're gonna do that now with the other one, the other side, the other panel. And then we're going to weave in these ends, and then we're going to be back and I'm going to show you how to extend the sleeve. We have our next color. We have a slip knot. I'm going to put this on the hook. And I like to join on the underside of the arm. It doesn't really matter where you join as long as you're creating more invisible seams. So when you're slip stitching the rows together, it creates more of an invisible seam, so you don't necessarily see the end of the row anyway. I'm doing a standing double crochet now, picking up that loop, going under that bar, picking up a loop, pulling through both of those loops on the hook. Now we're going to do treble front posts. So we're going to go back down under that treble front post below, and we're going to go through all of these loops, and then we're going to end with another double crochet to end that front post treble cluster. We're going to go around the row doing that until we get to that seam. So we're going to continue to do this front post through 1, through 2, through 2. We're going to do a double crochet here, and we're going to do a double crochet in the next space. We're going to wrap around twice, go under that front post treble with another front post treble, double crochet, go into the next space with a double crochet, wrap around twice for a front post treble, another double crochet, double crochet, front post treble, go under that front post, pick up a loop, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, double crochet. And now we're going to, like I said, continue doing this all the way around. I will meet you back at that seam so that you can know what to do there. Now we are about to get to our seam, so there isn't a front post treble below us, but we're going to create a front post treble now and just go through that middle double crochet with our front post treble. We're going to close that out with the double crochet, and now we're going to go to these 2 chain 2 spaces. We're just going to put a cluster in both of these spaces. So here is one cluster with our second and third double crochet. Now we're going to put one more cluster in here. 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, and 3 double crochets. Now we're going to go to this next one. We're going to put a double crochet in here, and then we're going to do a front post treble into that middle double crochet below us. And so this is how you do work across that seam. And when you get to that next row, now you have those other 2 clusters to do front post trebles into. So we're going to continue to work our way around. We're back. We closed off this round. So here again, we would just do a slip stitch into that first stitch. So we're going to go under this loop, yarn over and pull through, and now we're going to cut off and leave a tail to weave in. Now we're going to weave in these ends, and I'll be back to show you what to do with the base color. Now we're back with our base color. We have a slip knot, we're on the hook. We're going to go through, again, it doesn't matter where you join, but I like to join on either the top or bottom of the arm, where we're going to make sure that the wrong side is facing us and do our standing double crochet. Again, you can do a chain 2 to start off every row. It doesn't matter whether it's a standing double or a chain 2. Both will look well. We're going to just do our double crochet clusters here with our 3 double crochets in each space, going all the way around the opening of the arm. Now these rows are what is going to make the arm longer. So we want to make sure that we're continuing to add rows until we get to the measurement that we have for the arm length. So we already met our measurement for the arm width. Now we're working on our arm length. So I have 20 inches that I am working this arm length up to. Whatever yours is, you'll just want to make sure you're measuring as you go and you stop once you meet that measurement. I'm going to continue to work my way around here. Okay, we've made our way to the end here. Now I joined the row together, and again, you're going to want to continue to add on rows until you find that length that you wrote down at the beginning of this tutorial, and then you want to do that 2 times. So that is the end of this tutorial. Take a look at part 2 to see how we continue making this robe. I will see you in part 2. Thank you.